We're going to start in 3, 2.
Hey there, this is Bill from WTB Woodworking, and this is the story of how I created this space that we're in now. So WTB Woodworking started in 2015, almost by accident. So my wife and I bought a home here in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. It was with a 2-car detached garage. And I told my wife, that's mine, that's yours. And I set the garage up slowly to be a wood shop. One of the things I wanted to have in that shop was to have a CNC so that we could, do different things on there. So I started researching what type of CNC I would want to have. And at the time, that's when a firm was coming out. This was fairly new to the market. And I wanted to see what a firm was. So I had a CNC in my shopping cart and started to look into a firm, and before I knew it, I had already purchased an X-Carve, Inventables X-Carve CNC. Had to go into my wife and tell her I just spent $2,500 on a CNC. Shortly thereafter, it showed up, and we now had to turn it into something, had to make it profitable. So we opened up an Etsy store, and we started selling all different types of signs and plaques. To this day, that Etsy store is still there. We got known for making puzzle piece stuff, puzzle piece picture frames, puzzle piece tables, and we were doing pretty good. We had quite a few sales. One of the problems is you can't control the shipping from Etsy, and if you want to be profitable, you had to find a way to get your materials more cost effectively. So we started looking into that and how to do that. And first, like a lot of people, we started with a chainsaw mill. And we started milling, logs in my driveway with a chainsaw mill, which was fine. It would take, one log could take an hour. Or like to make a pass in that could take an hour. To do 2 logs could take an 8-hour day. You would go through chains, you'd hit nails. It was tasking on your body. It could be done, but anybody that's done it knows it's not the easiest way to do it. So we started looking into alternatives, and the alternative that we kind of settled on was we needed a bandsaw mill. We looked around, looked at all the different bandsaw mills out there, and we settled on the Norwood HD36, which we still have today. With that, we went from milling a log in my driveway in, 1 log 4 hours, we could do 1 log in 45 minutes. So now we started generating the piles and piles of slabs and boards, and we needed to figure out what we're going to do with them. We didn't have a way to dry them at that time. And my wife says, well, you're not stacking this all up here. You need to find a place to store it. And you really need to find a way to dry it so we can use it faster. So we started looking into it. We could have built a dehumidifying kiln, and that would have cost whatever, and then IDrive was there, and I really kind of got stuck on the IDrive system. This was pre-COVID. This is about 2018 when we got to Norwood. It was November of 2019, just before COVID, that we had ordered our IDrive Standard. And when we placed that order, it was just after Thanksgiving, November of 2019. There was a 4-month waiting list for your kiln. But I had told IDrive, how we got to where we are and why we were making this move, and they had remembered that story. And just so happened somebody had canceled on an IDrive Standard. And they called me up and said, hey, we have an IDrive Standard, which is what you wanted, and before we offered it to somebody else, we wanted to see if you wanted it. Of course, I jumped on it. So with the lead time that went from 4 months became 4 weeks, and we had it before the end of the year in 2019. So at that point in time, we had rented the space that WTB Woodworking started in here in Huntington Valley. And we started milling and drying lumber and started selling it at a retail level. That quickly grew into people requesting us to build different projects for them, you know, floating shelves or a tabletop or a countertop or anything out of wood. We've made kitchens. Well, we had, I don't know, 5,000 board feet of lumber in the space that we were also building all of our projects. And that became hard to do. There was not enough room for both. On top of that, we had to bring people through our workshop, you know, where we have a running 24-inch joiner or planer and a table saw. You know, it just wasn't really the best environment and the safest environment to bring customers into. So in September of 2024, I said to my wife, we have to make a decision. We either need to stop selling wood at a retail level so that we have the space that we need to continue to build the projects that we're building, or we need to expand. And if we're going to expand, I can't justify just having lumber. So we had to make a decision. Do we stop completely with the wood and all the drying and all the stuff that we did and just make projects, or do we move forward? So this final outcome of that decision was we're going to move forward. And anybody that knows me, when I move forward, I just don't tip my toe into the water. I jump all the way in. And that's what we did. So we took over an adjacent space to where our wood shop was. And we went ahead and went all the way in. We started bringing in products like Fez Tool, Saw Stop, Fuji Spray, you know, all the major brands. And started bringing that stuff in, because in this area you just can't find it, and a lot of people want to see it, touch it, feel it, and be able to take it home with them at the end of the day. And there was just nothing close. Anything here would be a Rockler or a Woodcraft that would be an hour plus away from this location. So this was actually a good spot. But to get those brands, you had to jump through a lot of hoops. Here's a guy that never had a retail store of his own like this, and I'm going to these big brands saying, hey, I can sell your stuff. And they're like, yeah, you can, but you need to prove it to us. So with a lot of back and forth negotiations, we finally got open with Fez Tool and Saw Stop. And those two big brands were the brands that kind of started us. And then we started adding to those brands like Fuji Spray or Chill Epoxy or Type Bond. And we slowly started building the products that we had in the store. A lot of people ask me, well, why didn't you just open up a Rockler or a Woodcraft? Just buy a branch, you know, get a franchise. Well, one of those reasons why is because I didn't want anybody other than my boss, my wife, looking over my shoulder, telling me what I can and can't do with the space that I have. I wanted to be able to bring in brands like Grit Grip or Boss Dog or Bumbleshoots, brands that maybe are not, you know, the name brands that everybody knows about right now because they're new and they're coming out, but brands that I know are good and strong and have a great future. And I didn't want to have to wait for approval from somebody else to tell me that I could bring them in. The only approval I needed was my own. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're going to keep going. The plans for this space are to keep growing it, to keep going and making it bigger and better. We want to expand and extend into the back. We want to double the size. We want to bring in Jet, Powermatic. We want to have more tools. We want to have hand tools, and we want to have all the, you know, name brand products that everybody's used to getting from those other stores like us. We want to keep growing this business and getting it to that point. We want to make it so that it's a spot that you want to come to and you want to come hang out. But we also want to give you that personal interaction that you don't get from those other places. When you call the number that's on our website or on our business card, it goes to me directly, to my cell phone. I'm here, I answer it. And as long as I can, it's going to stay that way. I want to have that personal interaction with you guys. I want to be able to interact with you and know your name and know who you are when you walk into the store. I want to know that you make cabinets or you make cutting boards. I want to bring that personal attention that you don't get from some of the other big brands. We're here out in our lumber storage area, which we currently have about 38 species of lumber. We carry all the domestic stuff, of course, but we also have some exotics like Purple Heart, Paduke, lacewood, zebra wood, wenge, things like that. We also, as you can see, have live edge slabs. I can guarantee you that if it's got a live edge on it, we milled it here, we dried it here, and we produced all that lumber here. We produce some of the boards that we sell, but currently the demand is higher than we can produce, so we do bring in some of that stuff. We also carry sheet goods, 4x8 sheet goods, all the stuff, veneered, walnut, maple, pre-finished maple, ash, sapele. We will have melamine, MDF, and that's like all available in 96 by 48 inch sheets. One of the other things that we could do here at WTB Woodworking that you're not going to find in most other places, you're definitely not going to find it at a Rockler or a Woodcraft, is that you can bring us your grandfather's tree that was in his backyard, bring it to us. We can mill it. We can dry it. We can turn that lumber into whatever project you want. Maybe it's a mantle over your fireplace, or maybe it's the face frames for your kitchen cabinets. But we could take your grandfather's tree from his backyard and turn it into a piece of furniture that would last for generations to come. What I have in my hand here is what we call the wood library, okay? And these are things that when you come in, you're more than welcome to pick them up and look at them. But we talk about the species of wood that it is, and all the information you might want to know. So even if you're a seasoned pro, there's something on here that you don't know about this product or this species of wood. And we have this right now for about a dozen of our species, and eventually we'll have it for the entire inventory that we carry. One of my favorite projects that I ever made is a project that started well before I had all this at my disposal. And that was a puzzle piece coffee table that I made for my mother. I didn't have a CNC. I didn't even have any of the large woodworking equipment to do that. We did it in our 2-car garage. Made the puzzle pieces from cherry slabs and did it old school with a router template and got the shape and created that puzzle piece top using that old school technology. Today, if I was to do it over, we would make those tables on the CNC, and we would make everything using our big joiner and planer, and it would have been so much easier and so much quicker to do. That table is still for sale today on our Etsy store. One of our highest selling items, which got us to where we are today, is our puzzle piece picture frame. We started doing those, like I said, back in 2015. I don't know how many we've sold since then, but it's in the thousands. And that is what brought us down the path that we went to get to here. So I know, you could look at what I've created here, and you could look at me whatever way you want. Think about where I came from and how I got here. But the reality is, we're going to keep moving forward, right? We're going to continue to reinvest back into our business. Presently, my wife and I are trying to purchase this building. And when we're done, we will be broke asses. But it'll allow us to continue to grow. The plan is to go right behind us and expand into the next space, allowing us to have more product like Jet and Powermatic, and give us more space for dry goods, for stuff like hand planes and chisels and things that we don't currently have. So our goal is to continue to grow and give you everything that you may need to allow you to grow in your current journey as a woodworker. We're here to help you on your journey as a woodworker, to learn from our experience as we had come up the hard way and figured out the best way to do certain aspects of woodworking. We're willing to give that information to you. So as you come in, we can point you in the right direction of which tools to use or not use. I'll be honest with you, sometimes I point you in a direction to a tool that I don't have, but I'll tell you where to get it, and I'll tell you how to use it. just to give you that customer service that you're not going to get anywhere else. Here at WTB Woodworking, we're here for you. If you got a question or you're stuck on a problem, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll talk you through it, either over the phone, in person. We'll take you next door to our shop and show you the way that we do something. We will guide you in the way that you need to be guided to help you get through whatever dilemma or problem that you're facing.